What's up, guys? Gunn here. I hope this video finds you well. Happy NFL Week 3. Right now, it's September 22nd. You guys know how we do week-to-week NFL content on this channel. I like to look back before I look forward. And man, oh man, looking back this week, it's a little bit painful because there's so many injuries, and I just feel for so many of the NFL players all around the league. We saw some big ones, torn ACLs, MCLs. It's been a rough first couple of weeks. Even week 1 featured some big-time injuries and stuff like that. And if you're like me, a lot of those injuries impacted your fantasy lineups, but we have to separate real life from fantasy, right? If you guys are the type of person to rage on Twitter because somebody tore their ACL, relax. It ain't that serious. Nonetheless, in this video, my objective is to look back at my Week 2 performance, look back at my premium notes and player pool that is accessible through rundfs.com VIP section. And of course, just think back to some of the stuff I may have said on the Saturday night last Final Thoughts video and stuff like that. And basically, my goal here is just kind of grade my tests, right? What did I get right? What was I way off on? And how many of it or how much of it was impacted by bad variance and bad luck? And I definitely think there's a lot of bad luck this week. So I'm going to jump into it. Before I get into last week's notes, I want to remind you guys that there are more notes coming for NFL Week 3 in the rundfs.com NFL VIP spreadsheet. That is a premium product over at rundfs.com. And what it'll do is if you unlock VIP, you do get instant access to the VIP spreadsheets, but you also get instant access to the premium Discord, looking a little something like this. And this is a wonderful community that I've created featuring grinders at all different bankroll levels, playing literally every sport. We have League of Legends sharks, golf sharks, MLB, the sports I spearhead, MLB, NBA, NFL, and then they're in there every Saturday grinding college. They know a lot about golf. So I love this community. If you guys are looking to plant yourself in a community of likewise grinders and guys that play different aggressiveness levels and processes, I definitely encourage you to come sign up. One of the cool features of this Discord is we actually have the bot Dacker that will report up-to-minute news as it's reported by verified Twitter accounts. Lineups coming out, news, injury notes, stuff like that, and it flows through chat as we have our conversations. It's a good way to talk pre-lock. It's a good way to sweat the games after lock. And just as an example, yesterday, as we do every day, I host a 2-hour pre-lock voice chat. This one was for baseball, but we also double dipped in the NFL Showdown. So you guys were more than welcome to listen into that or grab a mic, jump into that, and really make some friends. And then after the games, or after lock, there was people in the voice chat all night just hanging out, watching the games together, kind of like what we streamed on Sunday afternoon. So if you're just looking for, some sharp minds to chill with, watch some games, have some fun, tilt. Definitely my favorite part of DFS right now, or really ever. The money's fun, but man, you make some really strong connections. I brag about it all the time, the diversity that we were able to build and nurture in the rundfs.com Discord has really brought some incredible people from all walks of life, all parts of the world, different ages, different cultures, different genders. And it's just something that, not a lot of other hobbies can do or professions can do, and it's a beautiful thing. So come check that out. In addition to the NFL content, you'll unlock daily access to the baseball spreadsheet, really, really simple spreadsheet that takes some of the most advanced analytical data, crunches them for you, color codes it, and then of course I put my own player pool, and then every day before lock I do a baseball voice chat. So good way to support the stream, support the channel, get something in return. Go to rundfs.com, get yourself a VIP pass. I do believe today is the debut of the reduced year-end pass, which is $150 to get you locked in until January 1st, and that's pretty cool because essentially it's about 3 months and a week, which I think right now would run a little over $200. So you get it for $150. Nice little discount there. Anyway, that's the Run DFS plugs. Of course, we have the Gundacker Gaming channel memberships. We saw a lot of you guys flexing the channel member icons in the live chat on Saturday night. I'm absolutely intending to do more live streams this week. That was really an anchor of the channel throughout the years. Of course, it's something that you'll expect daily for NBA, but it was just kind of hard to schedule it in for football because it's such an awkward thing to do and find a hole that we're not competing against other shows, or just you don't want to be too early before news, you want to be too late. You know what I'm saying? It's just an awkward sport to cover because there's so much great content out there, and a lot of times I get a little self-conscious, man. Right? Do I need to go live and compete? I don't know. You let me know. But I definitely plan on doing some more live stuff this week. Of course, the channel member live streams and stuff like that on the way. We did release some strategy videos last week. So much blabbering. I'm going to bring it to a halt, but I do need to award the $20 PayPal giveaway. And this one goes to Kenny J., who left a comment on the week 1 review video last week. You see it on your screen right there. So Kenny, reach out to me and give me your PayPal information. We'll shoot you $20. Of course, we're going to be running this promotion every week for at least the rest of the NFL season. So if you guys are looking to win $20 in your PayPal account, all you got to do is be a subscriber to the channel. We are 5 subscribers away from 5K as of this second. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow we're over 5K and we start our grind to 6K. But every week, if you're a subscribed member to the channel, you're leaving comments on the videos. Each comment is an entry into this Streamlabs raffle, and I got you. Anyway, let's talk about week 2 and review it. So the first thing I want to talk about before I open up my notes is the injuries. The injuries were really bad in week 2. Here's some of the big ones ranked by ESPN. Nick Bosa, defensive end for the 49ers, torn ACL. 49ers were dropping like flies the last 2 weeks. It's bad. Saquon Barkley, torn ACL for the Giants. He drops down, and in comes Dion Lewis. He's done for the season. That's a yikes. Saquon definitely has all the tools, the mechanics, and the build to be really a generational running back. So I'm rooting for a full recovery for him. Just sucks, right? That might create some potential running back value chalk throughout the week, but we have a couple running backs that went down, so it's going to be interesting, to say the least, to see where the field ends up by Sunday morning. Christian McCaffrey, high ankle sprain, running back for the Carolina Panthers. Says reports after Sunday's game suggested that McCaffrey felt like he was just dealing with a minor ankle injury, but an MRI on Monday confirmed that the star back and consensus first overall fantasy pick was dealing with the dreaded high ankle sprain. So he's going to be out for several weeks for season long. If you were first overall pick, second overall pick, something like that, it's very likely you went CMC or Saquon Barkley. So it didn't take but 2 weeks for a lot of season-long grounds to shake and become disjointed. Drew Lock, quarterback for the Broncos, sprained AC joint. That opened up an opportunity for Jeff Driscoll. This one is kind of warm and fuzzy to me because Driscoll's actually won me some preseason tournaments in years past. I'll talk more about him later, but if he ends up having an opportunity this weekend, I might be a little bit more intrigued by him. This injury is going to end up being handcuffed to an injury from Cortland Sutton. We'll talk about that in a second. He tore his ACL, so they essentially could have lost their 1-2 punch there. Lock Sutton. Sutton going down really shakes up that Broncos offense, really reorganizes their hierarchy when it comes to receivers. So Jerry Jury likely to receive a lot of hype, and maybe Noah Fant becomes more of a target guy. And that was kind of something I played the Monday night game between the Broncos and the Titans. I knew Sutton was going to be out, so I really keyed in on Noah Fant. He had a really big first half and then kind of fizzled out second half, but that's something I'm going to be looking at going forward. Jimmy Garoppolo, high ankle sprain. Unlike Garoppolo, unlike Locke, Garoppolo should be able to play through his injury, given that he was able to do so against the Jets in the first half before sitting out the second half. I've seen reports saying that Jimmy G is a long shot to play this weekend, so you might expect Nick Mullins once again to get the call. So if you play Jimmy G, there was no George Kittle, but if you played him against the Jets, that didn't go well. Davante Adams, this one impacted my bottom dollar the most this weekend. He had a hamstring, and he ended up playing a little over 50% of the snaps. We don't know if he was rested because of the Packers lead or the hamstring or a little bit of both. I don't know if he's going to miss some time, but if he does, of course, that'll make us look at MVS and Alan Lazard, and then more usage for Aaron Jones, Tavon Young, cornerback, Malik Hooker, safety, Brandon Scherf, guard. None of these guys are like offensive impacts to our fantasy lineup, so we'll skip down to Raheem Mostert, running back for the San Francisco 49ers. He sprained his MCL. Niners are just cursed. That's tough. Tevin Coleman also went down with a knee injury that game. And that really leaves like Jerick McKinnon and Jeff Wilson. So again, a lot of running backs opening up potential next man up value spots. And then of course, opening up, at least in the Niners case, a true running back by committee. Maybe it zeroes down usage a little bit more, but the Niners are looking like they're going to be a whole different team in week 3 than they were to start in week 1. It's just nuts. Tyrod Taylor did not play, had a pregame chest pains. I've heard a couple stories here. I think the most common story that I'm hearing, I'm assuming is true, is he was getting a pregame cortisone shot, and then he started getting some chest pains, and they sent him to the hospital. Justin Herbert came in and looked pretty good. We'll see if that develops throughout the week. It sounded like they're going to stay committed to Tyrod. Anything else here that really impacted? Paris Campbell, I think he was in my top line this weekend. He went down with a knee injury. That's a yikes. Of course, the Colts have already suffered the loss of Marlon Mack for the season. I mean, this is just a Sunday, bloody Sunday in week 2. Bruce Irvin went down. Will Fuller, hamstring. Yikes. Other small injuries or small named injuries. Rashad Perryman, who looked like a pretty fun value play for the Jets. Remember, he played 100% of snaps in week 1. I had him in my cash lineup. He got injured. He's listed with an ankle injury. Chris Hogan's listed with ribs. Let's see. Anyone else? No one. Okay, so week 2 was bad for injuries, really bad. So now that we've kind of recapped all the big injuries for the week, I'm going to get into my player pool, my tiers that I put out in the RunDFS.com VIP spreadsheet, and just kind of grade myself. And of course, we'll have a little bit of curve based on injuries, what happened. But for the most part, I'll refer to my game notes and my pool and just kind of see where I was right, where I was wrong, what happened in the wrongness. I will be fully transparent on the main slate for DraftKings. I lost money because of all these injuries. My core, my highest owned players on the slate were Davante Adams, Ezekiel Elliott, and Derrick Henry. All those guys underwhelmed, but especially Henry and Davante Adams. So those weren't like punk core guys, right? But ended up decent after a flash draft success that night. Flipped just under $1,000. Played $100, $50 flash draft. Was able to have the nuts, the actual nuts, even though it was fun sweating a N'Keal Harry catch. I needed him to not score another point, and he had a reception, fell just shy of the end zone, which in turn allowed me to kind of have a decent night and make the day sting a little bit less. We talked about it on Sunday afternoon. When you lose in NFL, you got to hold on to that L for the whole week. In the NBA, you have a bad night, you're right back at it tomorrow, right? You can close the game out halfway through the slate, you get started on tomorrow. Baseball, the same thing. In football, man, you just got to sit on that for a week. And a lot of times in football, some NBA guy busts because he went 0 for 12 or something crazy, right? A lot of NFL busts are due to like injuries lately, and that stings even more because it feels like the variance is even rougher, even tougher. But in my tier ones, these were the players I thought had the safest floors with some relative ceiling attached to them. I was going to build my day around them. Oh, I forgot to mention Amari Cooper was another one of my core players. So this right here, without Hopkins, I ended up going Devontae more over Hopkins, just ownership-wise. Zeke, Henry, Adams, Cooper, that was my core. And that's that's why I was struggling. But I will show you my best lineup and my worst lineup this weekend. So stay tuned for that. My tier 1 quarterbacks, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray. If I go look at the top scoring quarterbacks from the Line Star results this week, Dak Prescott was your QB1. Kyler Murray was top 4. Russ and Cam were not on the slate, and Josh Allen was right there in the middle. I had Josh Allen as a tier 3 for me. I did have some tier 2s. I had Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Matt Ryan. Rodgers, pretty self-explanatory. If I was going to be heavily invested in Devontae Adams, it certainly made sense to go get me a little bit of Rodgers as a handcuff, right? Big day for Adams would be a big day for Rodgers. Lamar Jackson's Lamar Jackson, no explanation necessary. And then Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's probably going to average the most pass attempts per game again. And I expected that game to shoot out. I was going to have a whole lot of Cowboys. It was my favorite Cowboy stack. It was my favorite game stack. So I was absolutely going to have a bullish amount of Matt Ryan. Josh Allen, tier 3. The guy just puts up 30 fantasy points against the Dolphins all the time. And then I had Dwayne Haskins. This was more of a price and game script play. He was like close to 5K and expected them to get their butts whipped by the Cardinals. So at 5K, could he muscle some garbage time touchdowns, especially since I was going to be anchored on a lot of Logan Thomas throughout the day? He didn't look great. Nothing here results-wise surprised me, right? Maybe Rodgers ends up a little bit lower because of the big day for Aaron Jones. So Rodgers ended up with 19 fantasy points, and even 19 brings you to the fight a little bit. There was a lot of 30 pluses this week at quarterback. That is so not normal. Dak Prescott being a tier 1 for me with Ezekiel Elliott. I thought that if I had a lot of overlap between them, I'd probably have a blanket over every touchdown the Cowboys had. In a way, that's true. But I was not anticipating 3 rushing touchdowns for Dak Prescott, vulturing some from Ezekiel Elliott. So Ezekiel Elliott, and really both, I'll analyze Elliott and Derrick Henry. But Ezekiel Elliott ended up being him and Derrick Henry, my highest owned running backs. He only put up 23 fantasy points, which is barely a top 10 performance. I was not going to ever get to James Robinson. Kareem Hunt was on a Thursday night game. CMC made sense, but 10K was a little tough. Leonard Fournette over Ronald Jones after Ronald Jones looked like he was the guy. And then Aaron Jones. So I guess on the slate, it was Aaron Jones 1, Fournette 2, CMC, James Robinson, and Zeke. So Zeke was a top 5 scoring running back on that slate. So I guess at the end of the day, it is what it is. He only did a point or so better than Jonathan Taylor, who was kind of a chalk guy I was staying away from, and it didn't work out. Again, if Jonathan Taylor drops 20, I don't feel super threatened if I fade him based on the lineups that I had pre-flop, but after the fact, it felt pretty bad. Now let's talk about Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry, if you told me that Derrick Henry was going to have 25 carries, 2 targets in a game that his team scores 33 points, I might just hit the lock button, right? I said it on Saturday night. I said on Monday, I literally said Ryan Tannehill had more completions Monday night than he's likely going to have pass attempts in the next game. You go back and check. That's literally what I said. And I was heavy on that. And I was like, especially with no A.J. Brown, this should be Derrick Henry, easiest play of the slate. 84 yards, just 3.4 yards a carry, 25 carries. It didn't work out, right? There was no touchdown equity. We didn't get the 100-yard bonus. So it's just a very bizarre case of 33 points, and their number one usage guy had the absolute most touches on the team, just did not get there. So can I kick myself too hard about that? Absolutely not. It'd be one thing if Tannehill, who threw 43 passes on Monday night, went back out there and threw 35, 38, and I'd be like, okay, well, maybe the Titans are a pass-heavy team now. I don't know. But no, Tannehill completed 18 passes. So again, if you have a time machine and you can, from today, call me Saturday night, Sunday morning, be like, hey, Gun, Ryan Tannehill has 18 completions. They put up 33 points. Derrick Henry has 25 carries. Like, I'd be like, oh, dude, appreciate the advice. I'm going 100% Derrick Henry. No, Ryan Tannehill had 18 completions. 4 of them happened to be for touchdowns, less than 240 yards passing. That's just like, oof, that's bad luck, right? That's variance, right? We got years of sample size. Henry being the guy. Henry was the guy Sunday. Just could not get it done. So I can't regret that. That's just, holy cow, did I run bad there. And, of course, he was one of the highest-owned players on the slate. So we all had a little bit of that. He's like the only guy that we could play that busted that we can't immediately blame an injury on, right? It's like, oh, well, he played the whole game, had his chance. So that's a yikers. What are you going to do? CMC ended up being a top running back play on the slate. I thought that was kind of curious click for me because he was 10K. Week 1, everyone was trying to find a way to jam him in. Week 2, it just seemed obvious that we didn't need him. 25 fantasy points. It was a tough matchup pre-flop, but it was going to diminish his ownership. I think you could have got away with it, but I didn't force it. And then Aaron Jones. I loved Aaron Jones here. If I go to my game notes on the Packers, I think with Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams, I could not tier 1 both of them for obvious reasons, right? If the receiver has a big day, it might be negatively correlated to the running back and vice versa. So I went Devontae tier 1 and Aaron Jones tier 2, and Aaron Jones just kind of like was a little bit of a crash pad for me. So in game 1, I talked about it here. Running back Aaron Jones only played half the snaps last week, but he was heavily involved while on the field with 16 carries, 6 targets. He led the NFL in seeing 8+ defenders in the box in week 1. So as teams focus more on the pass, Aaron Jones will open up a higher potential DFS days. Great tournament running back this week. And that's what happened. I looked at Next Gen Stats, and I don't know if they just didn't get to the stats yet, but it looks like based on what they put, there was no 8 in the box. So in week 1, he went from the most stacked boxes against him in the league percentage-wise to week 2 having none. And that's what happens when Aaron Jones doesn't have to see fully stacked boxes. He has big days. Snap-wise, he didn't play that many more snaps last week. Matter of fact, I think he might have played a little bit less, 48% of the snaps offensively. Just crazy usage while on the field. 18 carries, 8 targets. Absolute monstrous day. He might be somebody that, because of his 50% snap count, might eventually trap us one of these days. But obviously, when he's on the field, the usage is just nuts, and that's one of those paralysis by analysis situations. Another guy over the weekend that I can kind of equate to that, not to at the same extent, but when we start thinking about snap counts and whatnot, is Jordan Reed. It's kind of like minutes in basketball, right? We want the most minutes for most opportunities. When you told me George Kittle was down, I was like, Jordan Reed's kind of cheap. I'll take a shot at him. You see, I listed him as a tier 4. He ended up being like the best points per dollar play at the tight end spot. But there was talk that he might only see 20 snaps or very limited snaps. They had a couple tight ends, but sometimes usage is usage, right? If a guy has 20 plus touches scripted in, it kind of doesn't matter at the end of the day about snap count percentage. So if you had Aaron Jones, great. He was in all of my top lines. Like I said, it kind of was a safety net for me, not just having a disastrous day. In my tier 3s, I had Jonathan Taylor, Kenyon Drake, Ronald Jones. So Jonathan Taylor, I'll hold the L on this one. I was very, very trepid when it came to trusting the rookie running back after playing 30% of snaps week 1 to go ahead and be the full bell cow week 2. But that's exactly what happened. I just thought, in tournaments I could stay away. There's usually always a value running back that just doesn't pan out. 26 carries, 26 carries, 2 targets. The touches were insane. He had close to 20 touches at half, I believe. Points per attempt, it wasn't fantastic. He barely got the 100-yard bonus. So you take out the 100-yard bonus and the touchdown. I mean, this 22 drops to 15. I said on Saturday night, if he scored 15, everyone would be happy. If you tell me pre-flop that he scored 22, he's chalk. Yeah, I want a bit of it. But again, I probably expect higher performances overall from the running back situation. But I'll definitely hold my L here on him getting the work, the volume that the rumor said he would. Kenyon Drake, I had him listed just as he was in a 5K range. Ronald Jones, I thought that eventually Leonard Fournette would be more and more involved, right? I didn't think they signed him for no reason to be a practice squad running back. I thought that week 1 could have been a combination of it being a respecting for Ronald Jones, it being Leonard Fournette doesn't know the playbook, and maybe Mike Evans was getting tied up by Marshawn Lattimore. In week 2, 21 snaps. That's good for 34% of the overall snaps. Had 7 carries, 2 receptions. Likely going to eliminate Ronald Jones from consideration in the future. Not that I was overly invested in him, but I knew better, right? I knew that they had too many names there to love it. Leonard Fournette played 42% of snaps. He only had 12 carries. He broke 1 and had a pair of touchdowns. He also had 4 receptions on 5 targets. That seems like it's going to be an annoying thing to predict week to week, kind of like a fully healthy 49ers running back situation. So you likely won't find me having exposure to the Bucs running back situation outside of a showdown or if one of them got injured. Kenyon Drake, 65% of offensive snaps, 20 carries, 2 targets, so 22 touches. The volume was there. I'd take chances on that again. Himes was a bust. Gurley was a bust. At the receiver spot, you guys know the story on Devontae. Amari Cooper was a high target or high usage guy in my favorite game of the week. Played 91% of snaps, had 9 targets, 6 catches, 100 yards. I'll take it. DeAndre Hopkins, basically if you're building lineups and you wanted both of these guys and the running backs, you kind of had to make a choice between Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins. I went Adams. Hopkins outscored Devontae Adams and Julio Jones on the first drive with his touchdown. He ended up catching 8 of 9 targets, only 68 yards in a touchdown. He was a fine play. It wasn't a slate breaker. In the tier 2 spot, Calvin Ridley, absolutely smash play. Julio Jones, not so much. Might have been injured. Mike Evans, 6K. Absolutely great play. Quintez Cephas, thankfully, Kenny Golladay looks like he's back this week. Cephas just 3 targets, caught them all this week. Not quite the 10 targets from week 1, and only saw 66% of snaps when the game script was so positive for the Detroit passing game as Green Bay was doing what they were doing. Deontay Johnson, fantastic play. Early fumble had me worried again, but he had 13 targets, 8 receptions, 92 yards, and a trip to the end zone, so I'll take that. Corey Davis, no A.J. Brown. I didn't expect him to have a lot of pass attempts. He had 3 receptions, 5 targets, 36 yards, and a touchdown. I probably got a little bit lucky there. He wasn't really worth having, but he made sense, so the process really checked that off. I'm not really going to break down all of my tier 3s. It was all the usual value plays. Scotty Miller, basically all the value receivers outside of a Deontay Johnson got injured or busted. Scotty Miller was a waste. Paris Campbell got injured. Terry McLaurin was a fantastic play. CeeDee Lamb was an okay play. Rashad Perryman got injured. Tight end Mark Andrews. He's so good. He played 58% of snaps, 3 targets, 1 reception, 29 yards. I was so invested in Logan Thomas, Hayden Hurst, and these guys down here, Jonnu Smith, Herndon, that I didn't end up with a whole lot of Mark Andrews. The only Mark Andrews exposure I had was in some Lamar Jackson lineups, so it didn't hurt me too bad, but I definitely thought his floor and his upside were a little bit higher what can you do? Ravens just make it look easy. And they're a little bit unpredictable spread out. That Monday night game between the Ravens and Chiefs should be fantastic. I mean, that is a Super Bowl-worthy matchup that I cannot wait for. Logan Thomas, the targets were there for him. Process was absolutely spot on. The results, not so much. 9 targets, only 4 receptions, 26 yards, 91% of snaps. Running routes being what Dwayne Haskins is looking for. Just Dwayne Haskins may not be adjusting just yet. Hayden Hurst, we knew he was going to cash in. He had run a ton of routes in week 1. We knew Matt Ryan was ultra involved with his tight ends. Obviously, Austin Hooper was able to get a contract from Cleveland out of it. He had 8 targets. Hayden Hurst did 5 receptions and a long, wide open touchdown. I'll take that. And then Hunter Henry, I thought this guy could have been a slate breaker in positive game script against the Chiefs, right? He had 6 receptions on 8 targets, 83 yards. I think that, like, if you played it, it's fine, but it's hard to really... Like, we didn't know that Justin Herbert was going to play. And arguably, Justin Herbert probably did better than maybe what Tyrod would have did. But it's just like, once the quarterback's different, once the point guard's different, I don't really grade my results yay or nay. But what can you do? Chris Herndon was a bust. Jonnu Smith, great play. Jordan Reed, excellent play. If we look at the top scoring tight ends, Darren Waller, that was Monday night. Mike Gesicki dropped a 30 bomb. That Bills and Dolphins game was a surpriser. Tyler Higbee, I think, had 3 touchdowns. Jonnu Smith was up there. This was definitely a double tight end week. I do believe that's what won the Millie Maker. So many great tight end plays at the end of the day. Mo Alley Cox, I actually mentioned him in my game notes because Jack Doyle was down, because they were still waiting on Trey Burton, because they were without some receiving options. Marlon Mack down. Thought there was a chance that you could have a solid day. 19 fantasy points at 3K, fantastic ROI there. But Hayden Hurst, Hunter Henry in the 14 range, and then Logan Thomas in the single digits. Not what you want. But what can you do at the wide receiver area? Calvin Ridley was your best play at wide receiver. Stephon Diggs, great play as well. Edelman, I loved him on that showdown. He came through. McLaurin, Mike Evans. So I had enough exposure to these mid guys that gave me some lineups with a chip and a chair. So at this time, I'm going to look at some of my best lineups and my worst lineups. So in the $9 slant, my top lineup was a Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce stack, or handcuff rather. It included Aaron Jones at 12%, included Jonathan Taylor. I was under the field on Jonathan Taylor. I think I was at 20 to 25%. I was actually a little bit surprised that he was only 27%. This is a $9 entry. And I figured in the medium to high stakes, especially medium like $9, that he could be pushing 35, 40. But it wasn't the case here. Paris Campbell got injured. 0.7 on a rush attempt. What can you do? Deontay Johnson was fine. Corey Davis, not so much, but we'll take it. Amari Cooper in my flex with 19. So this was my highest scoring lineup. I actually think I did have some... I had a Josh Allen line early that was cooking with Stephon Diggs. I don't know if that came up. I know it's a Dak Prescott lineup here. It's my number 2 lineup. Really, just every one of my lineups had some type of bust. No matter where, like every lineup had a bum. Scotty Miller here, 10% owned, 3 fantasy points, and it was just being held up by some outlandish performances, whether it be McLaurin here or in this lineup we had the Josh Allen handcuff with John Brown. You really kind of got away with a Josh Allen, John Brown, Stephon Diggs handcuff. So it was definitely one of the rare weeks where you'll see me play more wide receivers in the flex than running backs. My worst lineup on the day, Tom Brady. Had him handcuffed here with, who did I have him handcuffed here with? Oh, with Scotty Miller. That's a yikes. Usually I'll run handcuff my quarterback with 2 receivers. In that game, I was like, let me just put Brady but 1. Figured I'd get more Evans than Miller, and I did. But this lineup overall was just cursed doom. Look at this. Look at these snowflakes, bro. Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams. Look at all these injuries. It was so yucky. So yucky. Next lowest lineup here, Rodgers and Alan Lazard with Devontae Adams. So it's a great example of me handcuffing quarterback to 2 as the receivers. Just a lot of yuck. A lot of ugh. It's just bad down here. Another Rodgers, Adams, MVS lineup. What are you going to do? Right? What are you going to do? So I'm looking forward to week 2. Definitely looking forward to hopefully getting a lot less injuries in week 2. I know there's a lot of murmurs from the players, especially like the Niners. I heard that they are scared about playing in MetLife 2 weeks in a row. I think universal field type should definitely be a thing. I feel that way in every sport, baseball, unless it's like tennis or whatever. But like for baseball and football, I definitely feel like they should have regulation specs for fields. I'm not saying that that's why this is happening. Torn ACLs happen in every sport. It's just the human body at that size that's, running into car crash collisions, making turn on the dime moves. It's just not what the human body was meant to do. So injuries are going to happen, but boy, did it feel like week 2 something was in the water. Was it a lack of training camp, a lack of preseason? I don't know, but I sure hope this week is not impacted like last week as bad when it comes to injuries. Even last night on Monday Night Football, we saw Josh Jacobs go down for a little while. We saw the young kid from the Raiders get knocked out. I guess he ran into the camera well. He ended up being all right, but there was definitely some injuries last night that made you wonder. So, what's the name of the game going into week 3? Well, I'll do a first look video. Hopefully that'll be up tomorrow. If you guys had a good week in week 2, let me know in the comments below. If not, let me know what got you. It just be like that sometimes. Week 3, moving onward and upward, and I'll be providing the content like I usually do. You might even get a Danielle Core Picks video again this week. We'll see. Anyways, if you got anything else for me, twitter.com/GunDeckerSports. Otherwise, be sure to check out the Gundecker Gaming channel memberships program. Click that join button below. More and more exclusive content, early access to videos like this one. Last week I posted a quick video on how I, find game stacks and correlations, stuff like that. I have one about shopping lobbies in the middle of the night for like 3rd and 4th contests. I found some $50 pop-up single entries on FanDuel over the weekend and did a quick screen record on that. So, and then of course I'm completely open to what you guys might want to hear or see from me in the members program. So go check that out. Would love to interact with you guys a little bit more. Twitter.com/GunDeckerSports. I love each and every one of you. I'm 5 subscribers away right now from 5K. Could you get me there, right? Tell a friend to tell a friend. I love you guys. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money.